Hello, good afternoon, all you tech theater classes. I hope you had a great weekend. We're going to jump right into it. We're going to be talking about the controlling idea today. It's a new term for, I would imagine, all of you, but it's not a new concept. The controlling idea is a term coined by a man named Robert McKee, whose work you will read after you watch this video, just a couple of pages, to sort of solidify what that exactly means. Now, to draw a parallel to something you may be familiar with, is it basically boils down to a theme, okay? Now, these days, there's sort of a uncertainty about what that exactly means because there's a little bit of confusion between the word theme and the word motif. The main difference, if we really want to boil it down, and what we're going to talk about today, is that a motif is a single word, usually like love or like family or society, whereas a theme is a single sentence that we want to boil down to the very heart of what this show is about. And that's what we're going to talk about as far as what the controlling idea is, because next time we're going to talk about what a counter idea is, and these are two sides of the story that sort of battle against each other throughout the story. But today we're going to focus on controlling idea, but I just want to give you that word theme because it more or less boils down to a very similar thing. I'm going to give you a bunch of different examples between this video, between the reading that's included on this assignment, and then also some specific examples that I've done in writing as well, sort of simplified for these purposes. So my hope today is to give you several different examples so that it's very clear what this controlling idea thing means. Because while it is a very similar thing, and Robert McKee would actually say it is theme, there's a specific formula by which we come up with our controlling idea. There's a very specific way to phrase it and to determine what it is. Now, as you do the reading later, McKee focuses on screenwriting. So his focus is teaching people how to write screenplays, write scripts for movies. Of course, we're working with plays, and that's okay. But I want you to know that as you read those 3 pages, I think that I've given you, he's going to be mostly focusing on screenwriting. So it's a little bit different because he's talking to writers, and we're talking from a director's point of view. But you can use the same idea and the same concept to analyze the play rather than write a play or a screenplay. Okay, so we're going to be looking at what a controlling idea is first. Going to give some examples of how we do that. And then down below this video, you're going to see another example, number 1, a shortened definition of what these things are, and then also an exemplar or another written example of how we do that or how I've done that in the past. So that's sort of the overview for today. Okay, the basic idea for a controlling idea is that this is the heart of your story. This is the story within the story that you're telling. So you've got, what have I given you? Almost Maine, or Twelfth Night, or A Doll's House, and someone actually accidentally did Glass Menagerie. If that was you, I'm not going to call you out, but that's okay. Keep going with it. Glass Menagerie is great. Okay, it was one that I considered giving you guys. So if that was you, keep doing it. It's fine. That story exists, the plot exists, but what is the main idea? What is this main concept, idea, story that you want to tell? It's going to be a single sentence, and we're going to talk about how we determine that, okay? It's going to be something that Robert McKee calls value plus cause, okay? So you have to determine the value and determine the cause, and we'll talk about what both of those things mean right now. The first thing that you have to do is determine where your climax is, because it's about what happens at the climax to your protagonist. So I guess you need to know who your protagonist is too, but that's relatively simple. It's a little more complex for Almost Maine because you have all these little bit of things going along the way. So we can talk about that a little more. But it's the main heart of your story, okay? Value, let's talk about what value is first. The value is the positive or the negative thing that the character experiences in their life at the climax. So, for example, we can sort of break down maybe just sort of a generic superhero film, for example. And again, in the reading, you're going to see a bunch of examples of these. I included a document that I wrote about this as well, and also in the assignment, there's a little blurb about Shrek and how we might do it with Shrek. So you can take a look at that as well. But if we break it down with a basic sort of superhero arc, for example, we might say that in most superhero films, the value at the climax might be that good triumphs, good succeeds, good prevails, right? This is what happens. The option at the climax, it's usually your big superhero over here and your big villain over here, and they're fighting, and someone is going to win, and either good is going to win or evil is going to win, right? So at this climax, who wins? Well, I guess it could be the villain in some stories, in which case it would not be good prevails, right? It would not be that good wins, but that would be our value. Value is just a fancy way of saying, how does the world change permanently at the climax? In a superhero film, the world changes permanently by good defeating evil. Or maybe, here and there, evil defeating good. Okay? That's how the world is left after the climax. So let's take that as an example. Good prevails. That's our value. That's the positive value. The negative value would be evil prevails, right? So the value for us in this example right here in this moment is that good prevails. So that's our value. And what I said was it's value plus cause at the climax. So value is good prevails. The cause is just what it sounds like. The cause, what causes it to prevail? Why does it prevail? What is the reasoning for why it prevails? Okay, now something beautiful about creating your controlling idea is that it's not a scientific formula. It's a formula, but it is subject to your interpretation, subject to the story you want to tell, subjective, in fact. So it's not that it's a hard and fast rule. This is about your interpretation and how you want to tell this story. So if our value is good prevails, we need to come up with why that is. Now, in a generic superhero film, for example, it might be good prevails when good men stand up to injustice, for example. Or it might be good prevails, short pause. Or it might be good prevails when we stay true to ourselves, or good prevails when we put other people's interests ahead of our own. These are all options, okay? So you can see that it could be any of these. It just depends how you want to interpret the script, or in our case, or the film in the kind of the case we're talking about. But it doesn't have to be an absolute right and wrong. You have to be able to explain why you chose that, what you see in the story that tells you that. But it doesn't have to be, there is no right or wrong. Everyone, in fact, who reads, A Doll's House, for example, may come up with a different controlling idea, and that's okay. But you have to be able to explain, because Nora is our protagonist, for example, in that. I'm not going to give you an exact one, but Nora's the protagonist. So what changes for Nora in the climax? How is her life forever different now? You know, and again, the way that we phrase these is generically. So we wouldn't say, you know, Nora, blah, blah, blah. We would say we, or society, or we sort of phrase it this way. And you're going to see a lot of examples of these in the reading. There should be at least, I think there's 4 in the reading that I provided. And then I have the Shrek example, and I have another example, an exemplar below as well, from The Black Cauldron, which is a classic, less than known Disney film, very dark Disney cartoon from the early Disney years. So this is our formula. And when we know what this is, then we can point everything in our direction to it. So it's, just to repeat, it's a value. So what changes at the climax for the protagonist, plus the cause. Why does it change? Okay. Another example might be, I recently directed Newsies, so I'll talk you through that too. And for me, if you're familiar with Newsies, either the film or the stage play, for me, what I sort of viewed as the back and forth throughout the show is the overcoming of injustice, right? The show is about, or the movie is about, the Newsboys strike of 1899, 1900, I think. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that date exactly. Might be 1910s or something. But it's about these newsboys who were being taken advantage of by the publishing companies, by Pulitzer and whatnot. So for me, the big change at the climax was the overcoming of injustice. So my value was they overcome injustice, or the way that we would phrase it here is we overcome injustice. We want to talk about the whole world. Like, this is a broad, general idea that we are communicating, our theme, our controlling idea or our theme. We overcome injustice. Now, why? Why did the Newsboys, why did Jack Kelly in this show overcome injustice? Now, there's a few things that you could come up with. What I came up with was we overcome injustice, that's our value, and why? When we are steadfast in truth and community. It's all about pulling together in that show. And I thought that was a quality controlling idea for that show. I also did Into the Woods a while ago. The baker I used as my protagonist there, even though there are a lot of characters, but I felt like the baker was the protagonist in that show. And in the end, there's a lot of, for those of you who are unfamiliar, it's a story about all these fairy tale characters. The first act is very positive, everyone's going to achieve their dreams, and then everything crumbles in the second act. Terrible things happen to most of them. Now, that said, what I came up with in that climax was that the baker does eventually succeed. The whole purpose was to have a child, right? And so the controlling idea here I came up with was we succeed. It was success versus failure. But it was all tied to family and community. And so we succeed is the value. Why? When we are bolstered, when we are upheld by community and family. We'll talk all about the counter idea and what that means next time. After we get our controlling idea, we want to really get our controlling idea first. This is probably the most complex set of, section that we're going to work through because it has this sort of formula that we're trying to follow, this value plus cause at the climax. That said, I'm hoping that with these examples and with the reading and with then, of course, the Shrek example and also my other example from the Black Cauldron that's included, that you will be able to sort of grasp this without me there. So just to reiterate, it is value plus cause. The value that changes the protagonist's life at the end, or the world that exists at the end, and then why. And that can be phrased as value when we blah blah blah, or it could be phrased as the value because insert things here. So if it was a down ending and the bad guys win, like in Chinatown, which is referenced a lot in Robert McKee's book, evil succeeds because good is too weak to prevail. This might be a controlling idea for that movie, although I don't think many of you have seen it. But so you can use the word because, you can use the word when, however it works. But we have the value, fill in the blank of the value. When, because, fill in the blank of the why, the cause. Again, read through, you've listened to this, read through the short reading assignment I've included below from the book Story by Robert McKee. It's 3 pages. I think he goes over like 3 or 4 different examples as well as redefining all the things that I've talked about. Then read below that to get it a third time and with a Shrek example. And then if you're still confused, go ahead and click into the final document that I shared, the final exemplar, to read about the Black Cauldron and have it reiterated again. So I've really tried to give you guys a lot of information. It's a little bit complex, but I want to give you guys a lot of different examples so that you can sort of figure that out. And I may make another video for the Almost Mainers, just because it's a little bit different as far as that goes. You're not really looking at one specific climax necessarily, or one specific protagonist. So I may make a short video for y'all just to talk you through that as well. So anyway, hope this is informative. This is the very first step. Next time we'll talk about counter idea as well. And then we'll move into some things that are a little less heady, a little less formulaic in the imagery analysis and the metaphor and central image. But anyway, hope you enjoy this week. Make sure that you've read your scripts and that you dig into it for this. I'll give you a couple days probably to make this happen. But I hope you are enjoying it. All right, I'll talk to you later.